Welcome to Take Good Care Podcast,
an endeavor that grew out of our love for obstetrics and gynecology. Our aim and mission is to serve as a source of vital information for women of all races, ages, and walks in life.
I am Dr. Miranda Williams.
I am Dr. Deanna Guthrie.
And I am Dr. Karen Greene.
Welcome to our show. Welcome to this episode of Take Good Care Podcast. I'm Dr. Miranda Williams.
I'm Dr. Deanna Guthrie. And I'm Dr. Karen Greene.
So today we are wrapping up this season of our podcast. It's hard to believe we've come to the end of another season. We started this venture in the early spring of 2020. We were seeking to just make connections with patients and each other as we were all navigating things that were going on with the pandemic. And so we're wrapping up this season by looking over the episodes from this past season, things we've learned, things we liked, enjoyed, and to get you guys ready for the next season coming up, which is also going to be full of good information. So when we started this particular season of the podcast, we really wanted to take an opportunity to look even more into the information that we shared when we were blessed and graced to be featured on the Portia Show toward the end of 2024. And for that show, we talked about, as individuals and as business owners and medical practitioners, what things we had done to try to go from chaos to calm, specifically in our business, but also in our personal lives. So we decided to take this season and really kind of go into that even more, as well as to enjoy many wonderful guests who came and joined us this season. So Dr. Guthrie, as you look back on this season's episodes, we had returning guests, we had new guests, we just talked about ourselves. So what were some of the things that stood out to you for this past season?
Well, first and foremost, I love our guest format. So, we didn't start out with guests, but just, being able to invite and learn from so many amazing people that have come in. So it's more so as an overview, the whole guest format.
I agree with you because I think it expands the conversation, right? So we talk and we know some things, we don't know everything. So it's good to get that other opinion.
Yeah, and also the fact that it wasn't just medical.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of viewpoints from, like I said, it could be from anything, our fashion, our wardrobe, our, and more about learning who you are. So that's another aspect of it also, that it's not just, medical information.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like I said, I think, building from the Portia Show and looking more into ourselves. I think my favorite episode that I listened to again was Who is Rosa Gynecology? And just, looking back on our 40 years, 40 plus and of the practice, and just how things have developed. And just, with our rebranding, looking at where we want to go and who are we and what's our vision, and just hearing from all three of us, that, we care about our patients. That's first and foremost. And, trying to think of the phrase, it was, looking for a place where women can be heard, like an open, free space, safe space for women, safe space for women to come, no matter what their issues are, whether it's medical, like I said, for Dr. Greene mentioned, women who have been kind of, turned away from other practices or felt less than shame, that's the word, whether it's their size or even what their issues are. So that was one of my favorite episodes. Yeah, and that's probably was one of my favorites. I listened to that last. I've listened to all of them, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And one of the things that Dr. Guthrie said, because we do take care of the whole women, and she said, you're not just a pelvis. You're more than that, that oftentimes a person will come into the office and we're doing an exam, we're treating them, we're being very attentive about what their issues are, but we're also having a conversation. And so that opens up that space to feel safe, to feel listened to, that, we're actually
not just taking their history, but listening to who they are and what they're saying. And looking back on a lot of the episodes, and I really hadn't thought of it until I was really looking back and listening. It all was still in line with what we had been doing within ourselves, within our practice, and kind of leaning into, where are we going? What are we doing? Some of even the wardrobe episodes, Courtney Robinson, yes. She talked about how when you're looking at, what you want to wear, it's what you represent and who you are. And we talked a lot about that, so the ones that stood out to me was the Who is Rosa Gynecology, the wardrobe episode. And then we revisited our bucket list, just because that all tied into who we are and what we believe and what we want. And so, there was I didn't even realize how long ago we had done them until I listened to it. We were like, oh, okay. And just there was a thread of a theme. On purpose. And it was on purpose. It was on purpose. But it was to listen to them one after the other. It just all was almost like building to, what we have been really working on personally as well as professionally.
Right. And that's the whole point. And I think that's what this season in particular I really enjoyed and feel really proud of, is that we modeled what we tell our patients and friends and family to do, which is you got to check in with yourself. If you don't, you get so busy being busy, and just doing what you do, you kind of get like muscle memory, just into the routine of what you do, that you're not always thinking about why you're doing what you're doing or if this is the thing to continue to do now.
Yeah.
So I think that's why this season in particular resonated with me so much. And, I have a wonderful friend who her whole professional world is about leadership and educational policy in particular, but the whole field of leadership. And one of the things she says all the time is that you lead from who you are. So if you don't know who you are, then it's hard for you to lead effectively. So you have to understand, what are your good points, what are things more challenging, what things you need to work on, what things really you shine in, and to take ownership of that. But to continue to do the work, because you never fully arrive. And so if you don't intentionally take the time to check in with yourself, to also reach out to other people who you trust, because sometimes you can't see it, right? You can't figure it all out just thinking about things on your own. So being able to reach out to friends or colleagues, or even as we, when you talk about the wardrobe consult or show, it was with Dr. Courtney Robinson. And again, we invite you all to please go back and either look on our YouTube channel or on our website at rosagynecology.com, where you will see not only this season's previous episodes, but you'll be able to see all the season's episodes that we have done since the spring of 2020. But Dr. Robinson in that episode, and she's an image consultant and she provides these services. And I agree with you. What was so wonderful was it wasn't just about organizing your closet. It wasn't just about feeling what looks good on you, which is all important. It's like, who are you? And so I remember, walking away, I said, this is who I am. I'm bohemian and I can live into that, and it's okay, and it's good. And that just has helped to form a lot of things, that I do. And what were her 4 P's? It was poise, presence, purpose, and
Passion.
Say it again for the people in the back. Hey, slow it down.
Yeah. So, her 4 points in knowing who you are and deciding how you want to portray yourself and present yourself. She said that the 4 P's, there's your poise, there's your presence, there's your purpose, and your passion. So that was very eye-opening.
Right. Because that helps you to show up in the room. Right. Yeah. So that's the whole thing about when she talked about your image and what you're wearing and everything is, again, it's not just about the superficial and trying to be attractive, which is important, but it's not the only thing. It's about being able to show up in the room, right? Whatever room you're in, to show up as your authentic self and to be comfortable in who that is so that you can be whoever it is you need to be in the moment, which I loved. I also appreciated the shows where we highlighted our wonderful nurse practitioners, because it was so good to not just talk about them for their clinical expertise, which is without question, but to also learn more about them as people, as women, and to also ask them, as we asked all of our guests this past season, in your life, professionally as well as personally, what things have you done or what things have you focused on that helped you move from maybe a more chaotic situation to a more calm situation? And so getting their wisdom and their experience from those episodes, I found very, very enlightening. And again, our wonderful nurse practitioners who work side by side with us here at Rosa Gynecology are Mary Corbett, who's been with us now 6+ years and counting. And we also have our newest member, Brittany Bulger, who's now been with us for a year and counting. So we have wonderful ancillary and additional help who work side by side with us.
It's funny, on those particular episodes, we learn other things about them that, I think that it goes to say that it's nice to know what makes the person who they are, not just their skills, but again, focusing on they know who they are, they know what they want. And so hearing that from them, and I think in all of our podcasts, when we learn something, those are the most enjoyable ones. We kind of get some, okay, say that again, these little pearls and pointers. And a lot of our episodes were like that for us, just looking back at them and saying, okay, that makes sense. And, oh, I could do that. Or one of the things that Courtney Robinson also said was, learning how to breathe. Because we talk about how we are busy being busy sometimes. And if we don't check in with ourselves and we don't take that time to say, okay, this is just our own time. She said it, we've said it, we tell our patients that, but sometimes we need to be reminded.
And some specifics of practices of how to do it.
Right.
Because, you can say breathe. Okay, what does that mean?
Right.
How do you do that?
And for her, it was, one day is hers.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is. She can sit down and do absolutely nothing, and for us, it might be that little time in the morning, which
well, for me, my afternoons in the car,
right.
lunch food in the car somewhere and sit.
And just sit, because we don't often sit. My goal has been to meditate in the mornings. And so, working at, starting with a couple of minutes and 3 minutes and 4 minutes and really trying to bring my mind back into focus so that it's not before the busyness of the world gets to it.
Right.
Let's recontrol some of that space for myself.
Right.
Because if I don't, then the rest of the day, someone's always taking.
I'm trying to take a day or most of a day of a weekend of the weekend and just, like I said, I don't have to be anywhere. I don't have to do anything. And just be at home. Because like I said, most of my career being in my house was a luxury. That was like, I used to count. I was in my house maybe 3 days out of the week or 3 nights out of the week. So that's something that's very important to me now, that I don't have to be somewhere, or even when I was younger, you felt that you had to, why am I, you can't be at home, girl. Well, do something like that. That's something. So no, I'm really enjoying my house.
And that's what pointing back to some of the episodes earlier when we talked about going from chaos to calm, and we talked about that in our home life, in our personal lives, our professional lives. And in previous seasons, we talked about creating those spaces that encourage and facilitate that for good sleep hygiene and getting good quality sleep, making sure that the space where you sleep in your home is conducive for that, as well as for your home to reflect those things that are important to you. The spaces that facilitate connection with friends and family, rest, rejuvenation. One of the things, in fact, that's going on right now in my house as we speak is that my little outdoor sanctuary is getting a little facelift, because I like to go and just sit outside and, connect with nature, hear birds, and just listen to the breeze through the trees, and just to connect with that. So most recently, or just before this wrap-up episode, if you've been following with us this season, we have been doing some ongoing work with another amazing now ancillary member of our Rosa Gynecology family, Dr. Anika Davis, who has come alongside us to help us in so many ways with our staff development, team building, stress management in the workplace. There's all those different things. And so the previous 2 episodes before this one, you would have taken in the experience we've had with her working with our staff and also just working with us. Dr. Guthrie had mentioned earlier that, this is a 40+ year business, about 2 to 3 years ago now. Like, when did we rebrand?
November of 20.
Years. So 2 years ago, we rebranded. For 40 years, we were Peachtree City Obstetrics and Gynecology, which is a mouthful. And then because of a number of things, we decided to rebrand the business, so that our name reflects our roots, in terms of where we come from. Dr. Rosemary Schultz is our founding partner here, but also we mentioned then during that season as a bridge to our future about some of the things that we want to see this practice continue to do. Because again, even though we have all of us have a very long tenure with this practice, we've been here decades. When you say it that way, I'm like, we've been here decades.
It's just on levels, 1, level 2, level 3 business.
But that's a good thing.
Very good.
And speaking of Dr. Davis, and we've all mentioned how we really enjoyed not only the episodes where we were exploring who we are as individuals, who is this practice? What does this practice represent? And one of the things that Dr. Davis has been pushing the three of us as the physician owners to really try to explore and articulate is, what is the secret sauce for now Rosa Gynecology, fondly known as Peachtree City Obstetrics and Gynecology? What is the secret sauce? One of the things that we've identified, and you all can tell me what other things we're going to give you some hints about what's coming next season. But one of the things we identified, and we're deciding to use it as a strength, is our long tenure. That many practices, we talk about this all the time, they're revolving doors of physicians, nurse practitioners, midwives, staff, everybody. And, in this post-COVID world, there definitely is a lot more turnover, of staff and different things like that. But I think one of the pieces of the secret sauce of Rosa Gynecology is that we have been here for decades, and that we have been successful for decades, and we're always innovating. We're not satisfied, with where we are. Much to my partner's chagrin, sometimes we can do it. And we can do it differently, and we can put on costumes. But anyway, that's another time. It's okay, Dr. Guthrie. It's going to be okay.
As a matter of fact, 2 patients specifically mentioned our longevity. She's like, Dr. Guthrie, you look the same that when I walked into the store in 1994, and it's like, listen, in what? 1996? And then another patient was saying, she says, I didn't know any. She goes, everybody up front. I didn't know anybody up front. She goes, but you, everybody, used to be, docs here, been here the whole time, So it's just funny that was,
Which is why we are the secret sauce.
Part of the ingredient. We're not going to share all of the ingredients for the Rosa Gynecology secret sauce, but we'll give you tidbits.
Yeah, it's patented, it's proprietary.
We can't share all of it. It is trademarked.
It's trademarked.
But yeah, I appreciate that. And then Dr. Guthrie also mentioned something earlier in terms of one of the things that we're still continuing to develop in terms of our secret sauce is the concept of inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, politically, some words are hot button topics, and they can trigger a lot of emotions, depending on where you fall. But what I was sharing with my partners when we were meeting not too long ago, as we're reshaping and just evolving as a practice, is I don't want to lose the positivity of inclusion. Because again, for us, inclusion means we see patients no matter their size, no matter their orientation, age, ethnicity. We see patients. We see female patients, people who identify as female. That's who we see. And so we intentionally create space and have the amenities here in the office so that every patient feels comfortable, seen, heard, and understood, no matter what the body is or is not. Those who are differently abled can be seen in this office. We see patients.
Yes.
And that's important. And I think something that we want to continue to highlight, because that's our raison d'etre. That's why we're here, so that we can see patients and take care of all patients.
Because when we hear stories of patients that weren't seen, and when I say seen, I mean the provider didn't see them, or they
As a human, as a person.
Right. They treated them as a pelvis or a breast. It wasn't the whole person. It hurts us to our core, because that's, how can you do that? How that doesn't make any sense to us. It truly does not, because this is who we are. We make that space so that you come in and you're like,
I can talk here.
Yes.
I can cry here.
Yes.
I can laugh here.
Yes.
And it's, and we'll figure it out. We don't always have all the answers. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to mention too. Dr. Greene, you were saying that we take care of the whole woman, and we do, but just as a clarifying point to our listening audience, because we all experience this all the time. Well, can't you just take care of my blood pressure medication? Maybe not that part. So when we say we take care of the whole woman, we're listening to everything that you may have going on with you in your life, health-wise and other things. And so there are times when we have to then help assist and facilitate referral to the appropriate entity that can help to manage whatever that is. And so, yes, we take care of the whole woman, directly or indirectly.
Yes.
So there are some things that we can do directly. There are some things that we then refer to our trusted consultants and other medical professionals who can help assist with that.
Because we want to make sure that women get cared for. And so if we can't do it, or if that's not in our lane, our colonoscopy is not in our lane. But we're going to tell you every single year that you need to get your colonoscopy.
Great people we can refer you to.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
We make sure you're going to get the good care that we would give you, just like somebody else, because that's their specialty. So we would make good referrals, and we want you to take advantage of that, because we want patients to thrive.
Right.
Because a lot of women will ask, I've finished having my babies, I've had a hysterectomy. Why do I need to keep coming to the doctor? And I always tell them, I said, well, as far as a GYN doctor, pap smear is not the only thing that we do. It's, we are monitoring your overall health as you get older. There's things that don't develop until you get older that we are watching for. We're kind of, overlooking all of that. And we can catch things early that you may not know are even happening.
That's right.
Or talk to you about things that are happening that you may not understand, and you think you just have to live with it, and you may not. There may be help for those things. So, an annual exam is still recommended.
Again, because of that whole woman, right? Because it's not just your pelvis, and it's not just a pap smear. So there are other things we provide.
And, in that whole process, we're trying to educate our patients, communicate to them in plain language so they can understand why it is, that there are other things that we do, because often women, and we've been in it long enough that we see women that didn't get that information, because it wasn't talked about. So we want people to be able to talk about it and ask the questions, and find us as a reliable source when they have those questions that, may seem strange, may seem odd. Their friends are talking about it, but let's see what Dr. Greene says.
Right. So again, and in this season and in previous seasons, I think we have been really consistent in trying to make sure we share our philosophy as it relates to the clinical care of patients. But the other thing that Dr. Davis in particular has helped us with as Rosa Gynecology is evolving. We are continuing to retool and to make sure that we are lean, mean medical practice machine. And so in addition to staying cutting edge in terms of medical technology, best practices for caring for patients, what we really leaned into this year in particular, and I'm so also excited about that because, again, it speaks to our DNA. It speaks to what is our secret sauce, And our founding member, Dr. Rosemary Schultz, one of the things that she would always say to us as she was mentoring and coaching us before she retired is that as you're working in this practice, friends are friends, but business is business. And we don't get business courses in medical school, nor do we get them in residency training typically. And so again, just to reiterate, we are an independent medical practice. We are not owned by any other entity other than ourselves. And so it has been our honor to have been given the responsibility of maintaining this business when Dr. Schultz retired, and to make sure that it continues to change and evolve and be relevant. But that's not just because of excellent clinical care of our patients. It's also because we got to stand on our business. Okay. And so I think what Anika has helped all of us do as we have continued, like I said, we're 40 plus years in, but we're not done yet. But we can't run a business today the way the business was run even 5 years ago now, much less 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So as Rosa Gynecology is continuing to evolve from a business standpoint and from an administrative standpoint, we have really leaned in this year to making sure that from an administrative and a business organization plan that we are as tight as we need to be. And I think the work that we did as individuals to really think about who are we, what do we believe, what do we know, what are our strengths, what are some areas that we're challenged in, even though we've kind of fallen into different administrative and business roles in this operating of this practice, we really haven't necessarily articulated things or defined those roles in a way, I think, that's been very specific. And so this year, Dr. Davis is helping us to really focus on, okay, well, let's put some words to this. We always talk about find the words, use your words. So let's put some words, let's put some terms, some titles where titles need to happen. And then let's define how those roles should function. And then let's also define how the different roles interact with each other in terms of the leadership of this practice. I think one of the things that I've always been acutely aware of is that in whatever the entity is, whatever the profession, leadership is key. If you got poor leadership in education, you're going to end up with poorly educated people. Mm-hmm. If you have poor leadership in business models, businesses are going to go out of business. They're not going to be able to continue to function. And so having leadership that's defined and matched appropriately to strengths, so that everyone can function optimally, I think is another part of our secret sauce. And so that is evolving more this year in particular as we are not only shifting our own responsibilities, but that of our leadership team that has developed with us, the other ladies who help us keep this thing going. Mm-hmm. Anybody want to talk any more about that work that we've been doing? Dr. Davis?
One of the things that, in terms of her helping us define our different roles, it was something that Dr. Greene said to me the other day, was how when things started to change, we kind of made sure that all three of us knew everything, but what she has helped us do is you need to streamline so that kind of cuts down on some of the chaos.
Or realign.
Realign. So that the people that need to know this get this, the people that need to know this get this. And so that, the communication, the communication is clear. Mm-hmm. Who needs to know what, so that it doesn't overwhelm with you getting everything. It cuts down on that aspect of the chaos. Because in this digital world, you can get a lot of information. And so we need to, we trust each other such that we know that if Dr. Williams gets the information that she needs to act on, she's going to act on it. We need to know it, we'll get to know. And so figuring that aspect of, okay, with this title, what does she need to get? Same with myself, same with Dr. Guthrie. And I think that just kind of figuring out what it means to be, in charge of this practice from a business standpoint, she's really helped us do.
Absolutely.
As well as helping other people on our staff that are also leaders in this particular practice.
Absolutely. Dr. Greene mentioned a key word there, and that's trust. We've worked together for over 30 years. Okay. That word.
Decades. And hello. First of all, tell them that preceded. Oh, that's right. It's actually Winnie the Pooh. Come on now. That is. So we were. I mean, when I say decade, I mean decades. Even prior to becoming a part of this practice.
Yes. So, but, not many practices can, say that they have that level of trust, that, like I said, I don't worry if Dr. Williams said that a decision was made, and it could even be that I may not agree with it necessarily to every point, but I wouldn't feel like, why'd she do that? Is she trying to, there is never the thought of that. It would be, maybe I would do it differently. Hey, maybe we'll do it differently next time. But I don't go home worrying about, is this being done? Is this being done against me? Is this the undercut me? Am I going to come in and not, there's going to be here's your, let's take your key and no, never. There's never been that. Even when I first joined the practice, that was one of the things that we talked about. Our founding partner, that from the very get-go, every person that joined felt that they had a voice at the table, that it wasn't just you're the lowly peon, just come in and do your job and shut up and don't ask any questions. Everyone had a voice at the table. Everything was equal. As far as call, there was no, you take more call than me and I can just tell you to show up and, so there was no pledging. Never hazing. Hey, you said there was no hazing. There was no hazing. And, and so from day one that I joined this practice, I've had no day that I had no peace.
It's surely been one for all and all for one.
Since what's your phrase? Three people, one brave.
3 people praying. Oh, Sunday.
Sometimes we need that to actually think, and but for the most part, it's we're like-minded. We may not agree, we may not think the same.
Have different ways of doing things,
right?
But the goal is the same.
Sometimes it's 3 people, one brain to finish the sentence.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what I thank you, Karen.
It's not exhibit.
I see, I'm having trouble with my words. I'm in trouble with my words.
So again, we're evolving, and we like the evolution. It doesn't mean that we're turning into something totally different. That's why I like the word evolve. It's just all the good stuff. It's just getting better.
Yes.
And so, we'll go down the line. Dr. Greene, what is your official administrative title?
I am the Chief Financial Officer.
Money man.
Dr. Guthrie,
I'm Chief Operating Officer.
Also HR. Don't try to forget that, Dr. Guthrie. /HR. And I am the Chief Administrative Officer. But more on that to come. Because one of the things that we're really working on, and this is what we're going to leave you with as we start to close up this episode again, you're listening to Take Good Care Podcast. I'm Dr. Miranda Williams.
I'm Dr. Guthrie.
And I am Dr. Kanger.
So one of the things that we're also working on this year with Dr. Davis's help is really trying to recraft our business mission, vision, and core values. Because again, as we define our titles and roles administratively and from a business standpoint, the ladies talked about, some of it is operational. Who needs to respond to this email? Who needs to make the primary decision on this and all these other things? But it still involves us communicating with each other, with our leadership team, and then holding each other all accountable for the things that we are saying that we're going to do and should do in the business function of this practice. But all of it reflects back on, as we were just saying, what is the common mission? What is the common vision? And what are our core values? Because this is what all of us are going to be held accountable for, not just the position owners of the practice, but everyone who affiliates with this practice, either as an employed staff member or even in a consultant fashion. And then as we articulate this, again, for Rosa Gynecology 2.0, we'll be able to clearly say, this is the mission, the vision, and the core values of this practice. Can you come alongside this? And if so, great. If you're not, it's okay. We release you. See, your release. Go for it. Yes. Prosper. Do well. So again, there's no shade. There's no shame, but we have a mission, we have a vision, we have core values, and everyone that gets on this Rosa Gynecology ship has got to be with that program, because we can't get to where we want to go fighting and people growing in different directions.
You're going backwards and I'm trying to go forward.
You have to be aligned.
So thank you, first of all, for supporting this podcast. We have thoroughly enjoyed watching our audience grow. It really also, we in our offices, we will show clips of previous podcast episodes as well as some of our other antics. More on that to come too for this year. Stay tuned. So the holidays get to be very exciting and interesting around here. And so when we display that on the TV monitors in our office, we'll often have patients who come to us every day and say, "Oh my God, I love your podcast." And, "Oh my goodness, when we see your videos in the office, it's just, y'all seem to have so much fun and you seem to genuinely get along well." And to Dr. Guthrie's point, that's because they're undergirding all that is a foundation of trust. That is so important. I'm so glad you said that, Deanna. And that may have to go in our media list. Is that we trust each other at the end of the day. We don't always agree. We don't always have the same way of doing things. We were talking the other day about workflows. My workflow is my workflow. Dr. Guthrie's workflow is different. Dr. Greene's workflow is different. But at the end of the day, patients get seen, charts are done, charges are sent in, but the work is done. Even though it gets done differently, we end up at the same finish line. And that is just so important. And then before we get ready to wrap up for this season, anything else you ladies want to add about previous episodes? And please go back and take a listen. Look for Dr. Davis's episodes, Dr. Robinson. We also had a returning guest, Dr. Jennifer McGowan, who is an expert in the field of pelvic physiological health. And she is a trusted consultant that we send patients to all the time. And again, back when we revisited our Portia show. So just go back. This was a fun season.
Yeah, I would definitely say go back, not only for what the title says, but there's a lot of little pearls in a lot of these episodes that I discovered myself. And I think that, we want this to be a service to our community, the local community here in the Atlanta area, but also people that watch us in other states and abroad that really enjoy it because of a lot of the other things, the information, as well as the pearls, that I think is important as women, that a lot of times we need to, dig a little deeper, take some time for ourselves, understand who we are, or at least begin to, lean into that. And I think that it started with the Portia show and has only, grown from that. So that's, that's not lightheaded.
I like the different occupations of each person. It's not the typical, doctor, lawyer, teacher, which all habits or how you, but, when we found an occupational psychologist, like, what is that? Or somebody who is using your style, a style consultant, how, that's not, like you said, it's not just clothes and what you're wearing. It's what does that mean for, like, executives and things like that. So just like I said, learning so much that is not
typical for medical practice. So continue on this journey with us. Again, we're definitely endeavoring to bring wonderful guests to this platform for our audience and for ourselves, as Dr. Guthrie is saying, to just broaden the conversation, to provide a richness that the three of us on our own would not be able to do. And again, please tune in next season as we continue to unveil all the things going on. Say that. Picture her over a closet that mixing this and stuff. Yes. All the things that are going to be unveiled for Rosa Gynecology 2.0. But until the next time you see us, we want to make sure that you stay on this journey as we endeavor to continue to provide excellent care, every patient, every time. Take good care.